Hey, this is gonna be my first walk of the day, and it's almost 5 p.m. And it's gonna be my last cigarette of the package that I have. I don't really smoke like a smoker. I have this packet. I've had this packet for uh probably 9 months. And just yeah, randomly smoke every 2 or 3 weeks or once a month. Like it's really random. And I just found what was the topic for today. What was the topic for today? It's gonna be everything I do is art. So wait a second as I light this thing. Mm-hmm. Taking our time together today. I think I need to light this again. Yes, definitely not an expert here. Um, Today's topic, everything I do is art. It just came to me as I was wondering what am I going to talk about today, and I was thinking of the clients I'm currently working with. I've been doing this new program called Artistic Ship, and we have this incredible Telegram group chat divided into sections, and one of them is share your art. And another one is share your process. And interestingly enough, sometimes the process and the art, like it's really difficult to know which is which, because the process is also artistic. The process is beautiful. And one of my clients, one of the participants, she shared a video that she took on her bike. And she does those videos often. I don't know if it's a daily thing, but it looks a little bit like a journal that she's doing, using those bike rides to see what comes to her mind and share it. And I thought, wow, this is a piece of art in itself, because of how sincere it is, because of how raw it is, the authenticity of it. There is something there. The question is like, how do I define art, and how do I decide? It's like a statement, it's like a commitment to say, I decide that my whole life and everything that I do is going to be artistic. Even this podcast. So I was thinking about the videos that she makes, and I was like, oh, what about this podcast? What about this experiment? And especially this Walk It Out series, where I completely improvise, which is something I've always done, by the way, all my podcasts. In some of them, I didn't even start with a topic. I was just like riffing and flowing from the start. But yeah, this idea came to me. And I was like, yes, just because it's on YouTube, just because it's not in an art exhibition, just because it takes the shape of a podcast, which could, which may as well have been, like this medium can be used by many different types of people, many different types of intentions behind. So the medium in itself doesn't have to be artistic. I mean, no medium in itself is artistic. Medium is just a medium. You can take a violin and just like leave it hanging in a room. It will not be artistic. You have to play it and have to learn how to play it, or you have to do something with it that is going to show you've interacted with it. Maybe that's the point of art, is like interaction through a medium or without a medium. Maybe there is always a medium, actually. Maybe it's the acceptance that there will always be a medium, and maybe that's one of the existential aspects of art, is like it faces us with the fact that we are alone. We feel very much separated from each other, very much isolated from the rest. We experience ourselves as being separate, as being different, lonely. And it hurts so much that we decide at some point we choose a medium, and we use that medium as a way to bridge the gap between ourselves and others. So the medium is like it's like what comes just after the recognition of our desperation, the recognition of our human condition, and how much suffering there is. And I think inherently, when you choose to make art, when you choose a medium or many media to convey your art, you're choosing hope. You're choosing to remove yourself from the habit of despair and forgetfulness, which is, let's say, the habit of the vast majority of people. It's you know your life doesn't make sense. Somehow you push yourself to forget it. You push yourself to compensate, to numb yourself. And the difference when you invest in making art is that you deliberately choose not to numb yourself, or at least not all the time, and to make something out of that pain and that suffering that you feel, to bridge the gap between yourself and the rest of the world, and to feel, even just for one instant, more connected, more in communion with the world. It is a very spiritual thing, but it is not just about feeling. It is about combining feeling with doing. It is like daring to give shape to what you're feeling. So it doesn't really matter what shape it takes and who reacts to it and how they react to it. It's just something that you're allowing to play instead of blocking it. It's some kind of life force that cannot really be eliminated, but can be narrowed, can be shrunk. Yeah, can be shrunk. And you make that sometimes scary choice of not letting it shrink, of letting it rather expand and take space. It's pretty uncommon. And even though it's uncommon, we are inspired by those things. Pieces of art made by the minority, of course, it's the minority, remember? They they still impact people until this day, even artworks that have been made centuries ago. So we have to remind ourselves, especially in times when we doubt and when we feel disconnected, we don't understand what we're doing here. And there are lots of moments like this. For me, I am in one of those moments, if I'm honest with you right now. And it's super vulnerable. It's a place where I feel like I just regress to being a very childish child, very desperate, very needy, wanting everyone's attention but not feeling able to give anything, feeling super helpless and shameful. And I think it's easy to try to overlook those moments and think, okay, it's just a bad moment. I want it to pass as soon as it possibly can. And then I will cherish the next steps that will feel better. I actually think it's super powerful when you can lean into those moments, when you can feel how shitty you feel and feel it all the way through. And see that you're still alive, you're still there. Okay, maybe you're a bit dissociated, maybe you're a bit unsteady, maybe you're a bit sad or very sad. And what if it couldn't be any other way? What if it's just the way it's meant to be right now? What if it's okay for you to feel fucked up, feel any way that you're feeling? In this fleeting moment. A moment that you could not have imagined or predicted before. A moment that is just offering itself to you in whichever messy way it needs to be experienced. And what if you don't have to change this moment? What if you actually cannot decide just by your willpower to change this moment? What if you could just like fully embrace or embrace just a little more whatever state is there? And I know it's super hard some days. Some days even just like pulling yourself out of bed is super hard. I think it's a good moment to remind ourselves, oh, what is the commitment that I made to myself? And if I think of the commitment that I just talked about a few minutes before, I said, if my life is art, if everything I do is art, then walking in the street is art. Then looking at the child playing with the fountain like I'm seeing right now is also art. Staying in bed until the afternoon was also art. Everything that I'm feeling, everything that I'm resisting or trying to feel, what if it's all part of what needs to happen for me to later on do something, say something, create something? What if the conversation I'm going to have later tonight with someone, maybe someone I know, maybe someone I don't know, what if that is also part of the arts, of this purpose that I have found for myself? What if the noise in the motorcycle, in me being annoyed at the motorcycle, are all parts of whatever I'm creating? What if all those triggers in your day are actually opportunities to reconnect with parts of yourself? But it's really not easy. I want to recognize that. I want to acknowledge that. It's really not easy, especially when we're hooked with some kind of belief about ourselves that is very negative and harmful. So when we are hooked with one of those beliefs, like I'm not good enough, or like no one cares about me, or no one will ever care about what I do, we're stuck with one of those beliefs. We can still intellectualize this thing of, oh yeah, but it's all part of the art, etc. But in a way where we're just bypassing whatever we're feeling. Just a side note, why do I feel like every time I stand by a shop, people enter? We have always had that laugh, that joke with my mom about this. Like, how come when we enter a restaurant that is fully empty, then people enter just a few minutes later and then the restaurant starts filling up? And same for shops and stuff. So is that just like people following like sheep? Or is it like we have leadership abilities that are above average? We always joke about that. We don't really have an answer yet. But anyways, a lot of people think that either you need to feel great in order to create. Oh, that rhymes. Or you need to feel bad in order to create. Actually, none of this is true. The only thing you need is to be connected. So be connected to yourself. So you can feel like shit and connect to you feeling like shit. That can create amazing art. And you can also feel great and connect to you feeling great, and that can create amazing art. And you can feel like shit and not connect to yourself. And at some point, you'll be forced to connect to yourself for some reason or another. And then you will create art, even though you haven't looked for it and you haven't like controlled it. That's also beautiful. And I think more often than not, the art that comes without you wanting it to come or without you planning for it to come comes when you surrender to whatever you're feeling. And most of the time, the surrender happens when the feeling is pain. I would say it's much more difficult and much less common to surrender through pleasure than through pain. When I say surrender, like it's a very deep form of surrender. It's not just like feeling pleasure, it's like letting it expand. Surrendering to pain is really letting pain expand. And for some reason, it's like pain is more comfortable than pleasure for most people. I guess it's because it's more familiar, and that's really sad to admit. But that's also maybe in our genes. There is so much transgenerational pain passed on, and maybe very little transgenerational pleasure passed on. So maybe that's why. I would say pain, especially intense pain, and the pain that you have to surrender to at some point, really is a gateway to awakening and to creating something that really is authentic, is pure, and has impact and power. So I think that's all for today. Everything is art. Everything I do is art. Think about it for yourself. Experiment with that idea. if you struggle with maybe fully identifying as an artist, allowing yourself to, if you're an artist, if you're creative, if you create in any way, maybe you struggle to fully own that artistic identity of yours, then that may be an interesting experiment for you to own that every single thing you do is a form of art. Yeah. That was a very serious one. And there are days like this. Oh, there's a super cute dog on the other side of the street. And just brought a smile to my face. I am going to stop here and I will see you or speak to you in the next one.